the air. At 5:20, we're going to be joined by Asa Khalif, former city council at large candidate, leader in the Black Lives Movement here in Pennsylvania, to share his insights on the future of Philadelphia. And then at 5:40, we're going to be joined by Yolanda Brinkley of the Diversity in Cannes Film Festival, who will be calling in from Cannes, France, to share with us happenings and actions on the very last day of the Cannes Film Festival. And then later in the show, we'll be joined by Justin D. Berdinas, who will join us to share his thoughts and insight on the future of Philadelphia as well. He came in a distant 6, well, not a close 6, only 3,000 votes separated him and the 5th candidate for the Democratic primary. And so we'll be talking with Justin toward the end of the show tonight. But as always, our most important guest is you. And so we want to welcome you to call in and be a part of our conversation on this evening. Feel free to call in at 1-866-361-0900 or 215-634-8065. You can always listen online at WURDradio.com, and we are live on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD. And so we look forward to you joining us on the show tonight. We're very excited to be here and to share it with you. Just a couple of things. This has been a crazy week in politics, both here in Philadelphia and also outside the Philadelphia area, in terms of some of the national politics and things that have been happening. And so we want to spend some time talking about that on tonight. And I would like to begin by saying that we have a match going on in our federal government between Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and the one who's impersonating the president, Donald Trump, in which each are calling into question the mental status of the other. It was earlier this week that Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, after President Trump performed a temper tantrum around a meeting around infrastructure because of the way the Democrats are challenging him, really called into question his mentality and his mental state, to which he now has given Nancy Pelosi a moniker. For the longest time, Donald Trump did not give Nancy Pelosi a moniker, refused to give her a moniker. Everybody was a little suspicious of this because he gives everybody a moniker that he does not like. And finally, he has given Nancy Pelosi a moniker, and Nancy Pelosi's moniker is Crazy Nancy. So from now on, I'm sure that every time we hear from Donald Trump, he is going to refer to Nancy Pelosi as Crazy Nancy, and we will see how that goes and see what happens with that in the days and the weeks to come. We, are a little suspicious of Donald Trump as it is, a little suspicious of his leadership, suspicious about what he cares about and the way that he treats folk. So we have some real concerns about what's happening with Donald Trump in the country right now. In many ways, he's also moving to do some things that are actually detrimental to the folk that we care deepest about in this country right now. So I want to move and talk about what's happening. So he has released or unleashed Attorney General Barr and the CIA and the NSA, the National Security Administration, and all of the covert operations of the United States government to investigate who blew the whistle on his campaign that began the process of the creation of the Mueller report. So your president is using your tax dollar right now to basically have a vendetta against whoever called his bluff and whoever called out his campaign and whoever called out him with regard to his dealings with Russian officials that preceded the Mueller report. Now, we should note that there have been numerous people not only indicted by Special Counsel Mueller, but also jailed and imprisoned as a result of what happened with the Trump administration. Well, not the administration, what happened with the Trump campaign back in 2016. But Donald Trump is now unleashing the Attorney General and using U.S. government resources, covert resources to investigate, and in many ways, I think, attempting to intimidate other people that might blow the whistle on him. He has prevented his taxes from coming forward. He sued one of the banks most recently that he's done business with from releasing his financial returns to Congress. He has basically shut down every internal congressional investigation of himself. As a matter of fact, the IRS has told him that they are not sending his taxes over to Congress, and he's claimed executive privilege, so he doesn't have to do that. He's using every a tool possible to set himself up as a dictator. Yes, I said dictator. The notion of checks and balances is going out the window. The notion that we have three co-equal forms of federal government has gone out the window. And basically, Donald Trump has said the presidency is more powerful than the Congress. It is more powerful than Supreme Court. It is more powerful than the federal court system. And he is basically using every tool available to him to try to prevent the United States government from getting access to any resources. The only thing that's positive that's happening right now is that the state of New York has come up and said they are going to give up his state taxes, which should reflect what his federal taxes look like, so that the Congress can have some idea about what his financial situation looks like. So there's a lot going on there in the federal government right now that is actually very problematic and very dangerous in terms of how Trump is running the country. And I think we had to be aware of this. We talk about this every week. And I know that there are folk out there that think I'm a Trump hater. I am. So let's not kid ourselves. You know, I had deep reservation when he won the Republican nomination back in 2016. And the day after his election, I was like, oh, we are in deep trouble here in this country. As a matter of fact, ABC just did a special yesterday, or they started introducing a special that they're running on the Central Park Five and the investigation that Trump got involved in that eventually had 5 black men falsely accused. He was taking out ads, putting out all kinds of money in terms of trying to come after these men who did not commit the crime that they were accused of. And so he's got a history of this. He's doing some crazy things. We know he doesn't like folk of color. As a matter of fact, the latest thing that's happening that's actually very interesting is that President Obama in 2016 had arranged it so that by 2020, Harriet Tubman would be on the new face of the $20 bill. And Donald Trump has now pushed that off to 2028. And he had his Treasury Secretary said, well, we're going to concentrate on the 1 and the 5. I don't know how hard it is to replace a face on the dollar bill. You just got to carve out some new stamps for the money, which they do on a regular basis anyway. But he is doing everything he can to erase black folk from any prominent position in this country. And that's really what this comes down to. It was told that he didn't like Harriet Tubman's face, and so he didn't want it on the bill, and he certainly doesn't want to have anything to do with it while he is still president of the United States. And I'm pretty confident that they are going to do something within the next couple of years to totally nix Harriet Tubman being on the bill at all. As a matter of fact, I think it would be very important for folk of color to ask any presidential candidate right now, you know, when they come up, are you going to make sure that Harriet Tubman's still on the $20 bill, and then hold them accountable to that? This is really, it's racist, it's sexist, it is all kinds of forms of reflection of how he feels about folk of color in this country, and it is absolutely dangerous. Now, tied to all this stuff that Trump is doing, his questioning his mental stability, fighting with Congress and denying any subpoenas that are coming his way, unleashing his Treasury Secretary, unleashing his Attorney General, unleashing the IRS Commissioner to defend him at any end. In the meeting that he was supposed to have a conversation with Democrats around infrastructure, he walked out of the meeting. I don't believe he ever intended to actually have the meeting in the first place. I think he was just trying to be overly dramatic and bring back his reality TV days, where he walked out to a sign that had nothing to do with infrastructure, but had everything to do to talk about the Mueller investigation, to which he went on and on and on about how he is a genius, a stable genius, an extremely stable genius. Let me just tell you this. I've been told this over and over again. I think my mother was one of the first people to tell me this, and there have been others that have affirmed this throughout the years. If you have to tell people who you are, that generally means you are not it. So the reality is, if he has to tell people that he is an extremely stable genius, then he is not an extremely stable genius. And I think that Nancy Pelosi was very much correct in questioning his mental stability and advising family and friends to seek out and get him some help, because he desperately needs help at this moment in time to be able to address his issues that he's having in terms of really what appears to be a meltdown. I mean, I think we've seen him melt down before. He even started rolling out all of his some of his senior staff to verify how he was behaving, brought out Kelly Conway, brought out his communications secretary, and brought out a couple other staff to kind of verify that he was okay, but they all know he's crazy, so you have to agree with him anyway. So this is, he's actually a very dangerous individual right now. So, let's talk about a solution to this, though. I want to flip the script on this for the last few minutes of this segment. So Donald Trump, the Dems are talking about impeachment. I'll believe it when I see it. I think that they're playing games right now. I think they're afraid to impeach him because they don't want to solidify his base and make him look like a victim, to which case he might win re-election. I think there are also a lot of congressional leaders, especially those Democrats that are in red districts, that are afraid of what might happen with that. So here's the dilemma. In 2016, the election in Pennsylvania for Donald Trump was won by 44,000 votes. Just 44,000 votes. So I did a little research. And organization I work with, Faith in Action, has really talked about this a lot, about Fipling formula, and that really oftentimes the real decision makers in elections are folk of color, black, brown, Asian Pacific Islander, indigenous, biracial folk, that we actually can make big differences in elections. So I know that a couple of our consistent callers will call in because I'm bringing up voting, and they're going to tell me about how black folk don't vote in this election. Okay, so I just wanted to go and bring up a couple of points about the election on Tuesday. All right, so there was a little bit less than a quarter voter turnout in the city of Philadelphia. So just so you know, as of November 2018, there were 1,064,129 registered voters in the city of Philadelphia. Now, the total population of Philadelphia is 1,584,183. Now, I just want to point this out. Of that population, 674,842 are African Americans, as of an estimate by the U.S. Census Bureau for 2019. So there are 674,842 African American folk living in the city of Philadelphia. We constitute about 42%. So I want to push this out a little bit further. So of that, there's about 22.5% of the population of the city of Philadelphia is under the age of 18. So there's those under the age of 18, so they cannot vote. So the number of African American voters in the city of Philadelphia should be somewhere around 523,003 voters. So we really have basically 500,000 African American voters in the city of Philadelphia. Let's go back to this. The election in Philadelphia brought out 250,000 voters, only 25% of the electorate. Of that, of 25% that turned out, we don't know how many are African Americans, but there are potentially, there are 523,000 eligible African American voters in the city of Philadelphia. Donald Trump won the election in Pennsylvania in 2016 by 44,000 votes. And the turnout in the general election in Philadelphia was still around 25%. So if you are trying to find a base of people that can actually flip an election, where do you find that 44,000 folk to vote. You come to Philadelphia and you try to find part of the 523,000, almost over half a million voters in the city of Philadelphia that can vote in the election. So on the show, we've heard folk complain over and over again about the elected officials that we have here in Philadelphia not working for our community. We have 26% poverty. Great deal of the poverty is in the African American community. We have 12.5% deep poverty that exists here in the city of Philadelphia, but yet only 250,000 people voted, and the early reports indicate that the precincts that voted the best were gentrifying areas where basically white folk were moving into black and brown areas, and they voted higher than everybody else. So I have a question for Philadelphia and for all the folk here that care about the city and want to see it turned around. How are we going to get voter turnout in place? How are we going to motivate folk to be able to vote not just in November? Because you know as well as I do that most of the elections in November are locked up at this point unless something extraordinary happens. And so as we're looking to 2020, we have at least 250,000 African-American voters that we have to motivate and get out to vote in the 2020 election if we want to see real change in this country and make sure that Donald Trump does not get the members of the Electoral College that are here in the state of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia can actually control this election from the city of Philadelphia. You don't even have to go to the suburbs. Philadelphia can make the difference right here. Well, look, we're up on our first break, and coming back on the other side of the break, Asa Khalif, who is a former city council at large candidate, leader in Black Lives here in the state of Pennsylvania, activist extraordinaire here in the city of Philadelphia, is going to join us and talk about the future of Philly, considering all these stats that we just laid out. You're listening to Solutions on WURD. This is Bishop Dwayne Royster, and I'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Already a pretty insane commute on the Philly roads. This traffic report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Starting on the Schuylkill Expressway, eastbound it jams 202 to Belmont, then City Avenue down to the Vine Expressway. Westbound Schuylkill at a crawl from there to the Vine, jams again the Boulevard to Belmont, then your heavy glide went out to 476. Vine Expressway eastbound is crawling 76 all the way to 95. Westbound jams 8th Street back to the Schuylkill Expressway. 95 northbound, that jams Neiman's Road to the Commodore Barry Bridge, again Island Avenue to the Walt Whitman Bridge, then from Penn's Landing to Bridge Street and from Cottman to Woodhaven. Southbound 95 jamming from Cottman to Girard, then from Penn's Landing down to Island Avenue and the airport down to the Commodore Barry. Blue Route northbound's heavy from 95 to North McDade, southbound jamming St. David's all the way down to I-95, and the Boulevard northbound jams the Schuylkill Expressway into Broad Street. Walt Whitman Bridge eastbound crawling into New Jersey. That's because 42 southbound is at a crawl from Packer Avenue in Pennsylvania across the bridge on down to 42 all the way down to 295, and that is because of some emergency construction. 295 southbound is heavy from 30 down to 42. 676 southbound, that's crawling from Atlantic Avenue down to 42. Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. For more traffic information, log on to SigAlert. I'm Brendan Joseph with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You asked for it, and you've got it. The rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, will be in the community now more than ever.
I'm out in these streets
With Word Show on the Go, hosted by the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith.
Holla at your boy.
Learn where you can catch Word Show on the Go at wordradio.com or search the hashtag Word Show on the Go. For more information, follow us on social media at onWURD. And stay tuned to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD and wordradio.com. This is Word Radio, independent black media.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The Kimmel Center offers free arts education programs to schools across the region. Teaching artists visit classrooms to educate, engage, and inspire the next generation using creative learning experiences, and schools take trips to the Kimmel Center for live performances. The Kimmel Center is committed to educating Philadelphia's youth by providing access to quality arts. For more information, visit kimmelcenter.org.
Open calendar. What's my schedule looking like?
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an emergency flash flood between Park and First Street.
What? No, that doesn't work. I'm busy then. Decline. Decline.
Floods don't exactly work around your schedule. Disasters don't plan ahead. But you can. It starts with talking to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. So don't wait, communicate. Visit readypa.org. Brought to you by readypa.org, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at forward. Word TV. Black Talk Media.
Welcome back to Solutions. This is Dwayne Royster. Without Amadi Braxton tonight, we are praying and sending well wishes to Amadi. Pray that you would do likewise. She's not feeling well this evening and could not be in studio, but we look forward to hearing her back on the air with us very shortly. We are now joined on calling in is Asa Khalif, and Asa Khalif is no stranger to Philadelphia. Many people know him for his work and activism here in the city, especially around police killings of unarmed black men, his work around standing up for black folk in general through the Black Lives Matter movement and Pennsylvania Black Lives, and most recently his run as a city council at large candidate here in the city of Philadelphia. Asa, welcome to Solutions on WURD.
Hey, good evening, Bishop Royster.
You are great. Thank you for coming on tonight. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so you made the run. Didn't quite make it this time around, but, Philadelphia loves a comeback story. And I'm just, really curious in this moment, how you're feeling, one, and then two, what's your hopes and your dreams for Philadelphia moving forward here?
Well, first of all, thank you again for the invitation, Bishop Royster.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank all of my supporters, my family, activists here in Philadelphia, and activists in the Black Lives Matter movement, and last but certainly not least, my community who really came out for me. My first run in this political space, nearly 10,000 votes. For some people said I wouldn't even get 100 votes. That's controversial as the media tries to paint me. But I think it was an experience for me. It wasn't nothing new to go out and quote unquote press the flesh, because I never left my community, and
right.
We work as activists in our communities every day. But it did expose me to working and meeting people outside of the communities I normally occupy,
mm-hmm.
and to have conversations with them, and to leave those conversations realizing and having them realize that we have a lot more in common than what society and social norms try to say that we don't.
Sure.
People in Philadelphia are in pain, Bishop Lewis,
mm-hmm.
And they are in pain. They're unemployed. There's a lot of hopelessness out there, and people are struggling. And I think, if anything, by having me and other activists run for city council at large, we force the Democratic machine to deal with the fact of poverty, to deal with gentrification, to deal with police brutality and homelessness. And so I think that was the beauty of it. I'm very saddened, obviously, that I didn't win, but I'm extremely sad that certain activists who are grassroots activists, who are good people, who I've organized with in the past,
mm-hmm.
that no activists won, and that the Democratic machine overpowered with their money. And so I think, if anything good has come out of this, is that people, and you even heard it on Brother Shamari's show, was with fire.
Yeah.
And Brother Shamari is absolutely right. And you hear it in the streets now. People are tired of individuals in high places dictating to them who are their leaders and who can represent them and deal with their quality of life. And I think the people are really rising up at this point and creating their own, groups and creating their own committees and creating their own coalitions and run their own candidates that they know will not sell them out and take dirty money for crooked Johnny, Doc, and the rest of them.
Absolutely.
So, we need individuals in occupying spaces, Bishop Royster, who has integrity and who have character going in and cannot be persuaded to sell out their community.
Ace, let me ask you this question, though. So, I mean, part of, like, the Krasner Coalition, which you are a part of, right, brought together, I mean, Larry Krasner was not endorsed by the Democratic Party. They were doing everything they could to get rid of him. What happened from 2018 or 20 when was that, like 2017 to now that we could not pull that off this time around?
I think a lot of it, first of all, we had connections with Larry Krasner and still believe in his ideas. So it was easy for us to come together to work around him in those ideas that he and we all shared.
Sure.
But I think what the breakup came is black and brown people were kind of pushed to the side. I'm not saying by Mr. Krasner, but I'm saying that coalition where black and brown people were definitely a powerful force and influence in him getting elected, was cast aside by new groups that came out, like Philly 2.0 and all these other groups with their own agendas. And black folks were, again, left down in the cold. So that's why you didn't see that coalition. And so what we have to do, again, and I thank God for this radio station. I'm proud to say while I was running for city council, I advertised on WRD because I just don't, talk the talk. I walk the walk. I support this station. It's needed for black and brown people. And so I think, what we're realizing now is that, white folks are not going to come and save us, Bishop Royster.
Sure.
I just got to be honest. We can't run to Wakanda. We are going to have to save ourselves and build our own Wakanda. And so what's coming out of this election is not disappointment. What's coming out is actually anger and using that anger now to mobilize.
So let me push you on something, though. Let me push you on something. So I was running down some stats earlier, right before we went to commercial break and you came back onto the show, that said that there are basically 1 million registered voters here in the city of Philadelphia. It's like 1,064,000 registered voters in the city of Philadelphia. There are 674,000 African Americans in the city. Of that, 77.5% are over the age of 18 and eligible to vote in the city of Philadelphia. And yet in this election, Billy Penn, e-newspaper, I don't exactly know what you call it, but came out and basically said, wow, we had 23% electoral vote, so only a little bit less than 250,000 people voted in this last election here in the city of Philadelphia, in this primary election. And so there are, even if that 250,000, half of them are black folk, which I'm not entirely sure that would be an accurate breakdown, that's 125,000 black folk that voted. But where is the other 400,000 that are eligible to vote that really have the capability of changing the electorate, not only here in Philly, but also have the capability of changing the electorate in Pennsylvania? I mean, part of the challenge that I was laying out earlier is that Donald Trump won the state of Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes. Pennsylvania could have put up a wall to prevent him from becoming president, and we only needed 44,000 votes. So how do we mobilize this base of basically of rocks that we can be using to throw against the enemy that we have to get them out to vote and to really create the change that's going to come? How do we get folk ready to go and make this change? Because look, I'm a lifelong Philadelphian. I know I don't live here right now. I'm down in D.C. trying to fight for Philly from D.C. And I'm like, but we got to do better than this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, on the campaign trail, I ran into many people who were just completely lost confidence in this political process here in Philadelphia. And they made some valid points. But I think people have to really be inspired that they truly can make a change, and not to put their hopes and their dreams in a political party, Democrat or Republican.
Right.
They actually have to realize my whole message was the people united shall never be defeated.
Right.
I was reminding people that you have the power to put people in office. You have the power to put them out of office, and if they are in office with your vote, they work for you.
That's right.
They have an accountability not to themselves, not to their friends, not to the rich developers. They have an accountability to you. And I think people have now become inspired because they realize now, if I don't vote, these are the individuals that the political machine will put in place, and they don't mostly speak for me.
That's right.
So, I think sometimes, you have to fall down when you're riding a bike, and you may have to scrape yourself, scrape your knee, scrape your elbow. But the determination of getting back on that bike and conquering that, I think, has lit a fire with people, especially young black men and women. I've had more young people who participated in my campaign, but in other campaigns with activists, grassroots activists who ran. The reentry program, those brothers and sisters who are coming home, who came home and restarted their lives, they realized that, if you really want true prison reform and issues that are dealing with them as individuals who are coming back into society, they have to vote. They mobilize, and they vote, especially in North Philly and in the Black Bottom. We saw a huge grassroots mobilization of those brothers and sisters who from the reentry program. So I think, people are realizing now, if I don't vote, I don't count.
Right.
You understand? I don't count. And I think the arrogance that a political machine can say, this is who I'm going to pick, and this is who's going to succeed me, and this is who's going to speak for me, has backfired. And I think you will see coming in future elections here in Philadelphia, you're going to see new black and brown groups come together to say, we will dictate our future, not the politician.
Well, I mean, that is part of, so I was actually, I caught I don't know if you heard me, I was on the tail end of Shamar's show today, and I mean, I agree with him, right? There's no reason between the black and brown folk that live here in the city of Philadelphia. We constitute almost 60 some odd % of the population. I think the latest statistics said we're about 42.5. The Latinx community is about 14.1%, and that doesn't even include the API community, the indigenous community that's here, or the biracial community that's here as well. So folk of color clearly constitute a majority here in the city of Philadelphia. So if that is the case, right, how, we have to create a vehicle that we are self-funding, right? Because we got to put some money into this as well. It can't just be like we just going to hit the pavement and that's going. We got to put some money to the table to really be able to control. There's no way any developer should be able to control the city of Philadelphia. There's no way the Chamber of Commerce should be able to control the city of Philadelphia, and yet they do.
And I think, and we will have, when folks believe in something and actually start believing in themselves, they have to be woke. They have to be awakened to realize that they have the power. And I think you're seeing that now. I personally have seen it. The money will come because folks who believe in stuff and that's really going to benefit them will put the money in. So we will get the money. If it's nothing but a grassroots dollar and a grassroots $2 bill, grassroots $5, we can get that money because folks will rally around what they believe in, especially when it's going to benefit their self-interest.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Bishop Gore. So we have to now think about black folks. And I'm not afraid to say it. Everybody else gets, the pie, the piece of the pie.
Right.
Well, damn it, it's time for us to get the pie. It's time for us to bake the pie. It's time for us to control who gets the slices in our community. We
Absolutely.
have to have control of our destiny. And so we have to have a party that is going to focus strictly on black and brown and poor people. It's as simple as that.
And can we get rid of respectability?
Exactly. And we can't achieve it with respectability.
Right.
We can't do it. We have to call a thing a thing. We cannot allow black folks, there's a quote that the late Cecil B. Moore said, because you're my skin color don't mean you're my color. Don't mean you're my.
Yeah, you're my skin folk. That mean you're my kin folk.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
So we got even today black folks who have been reelected who have sold us out, and we know that. So now that we have the knowledge, it's no time at this point to start blaming. We know who our enemies are, and they don't necessarily come in white skin. So we have to make sure, again, that our agenda must be a black and brown agenda, period. And it can't be any type of respectability politics with it. You can't be free. You can't break free trying to be respectful to your oppressor and the system that continues to oppress you. We got to have our own agenda, our own party, and we can obtain that right here in Philadelphia. It can be revolutionary, and it can be obtained.
Well, Audre Lorde said you can't use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house, right? So we are in that situation right now that if we want to create a new Philadelphia, we've got to start building our machine right now, this year, like today, to begin to build our own political base, to begin to build our own pieces, our own platform, and our own agenda, and then begin incrementally running our own folk and testing out and putting things in. We shouldn't just limit it to Philadelphia. We need to get folk in the State House and the state Senate as well.
Absolutely. We can cover all bases. Doesn't have to start and end just locally here with the city council and the mayor's office. We need our people in every part of spaces that will speak truth to power.
Honestly, I want to say to you that I hope that in November of 2020, the story in Pennsylvania is that Donald Trump lost Pennsylvania because black folks stood up and said, we're taking back this community, we're taking back our neighborhoods, we're taking back our government.
Yeah. I think you'll see it, Bishop Woods. I honestly believe that. I think you will see black and brown people are frustrated. They're tired of being disrespected and set aside. And I think at this point now we have empowered ourselves that, we can hold our own destiny.
Yeah.
And we can control our own narrative when it concerns us.
So what I hear you saying, Asa Khalif, is that the solution is that we've got to build our own independent political apparatus to be able to create our agenda and to create change in Philadelphia. Is that right?
That's the only way we're going to be able to survive.
All right, come on, brother, lead us there.
Yeah, we all can do it. We're going to need the young. We're going to need the in between. We're going to need our elders, definitely, because we can't do anything with our elders, and we need to rely on our God and on our ancestors to guide us through these spaces.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Solution. This is Asa Khalif, leader in Philadelphia of black folk and brown folk and folk that care about those that struggle the deepest. Asa Khalif, thank you for all you did in running for city council, for your work that you continue to do to hold Philadelphia accountable for caring for the people that live within its borders. We deeply appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Bishop Ward. You take care. God bless.
You too. God bless now. You're listening to Solutions on WRD. This is Bishop Dwayne Royster. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Quite a few busy spots on the Philly roads. Most of it is heading towards the shore. This traffic report is sponsored by Indeed.com. On the Pennsylvania side, on the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound, jam traffic from about 476 into Belmont and the Boulevard to the Vine Expressway. Westbound jamming from University to the Vine. Then you're heavy as you approach the Conshohocken Curve. Vine Expressway eastbound jam 76 across the 95. That's because 95 northbound is stop and go from about Penn's Landing to Girard with a disabled vehicle in the right lane. Southbound 95, you'll see jam traffic from Cottman down to Girard and the airport down to the Commodore Barry. Blue Route southbound still heavy from Broomall down to about Media Swarthmore, and the Boulevard northbound jams the Schuylkill Expressway into Broad Street. Heading into Jersey, the Walt Whitman Bridge eastbound is jammed the length. That's because 42 southbound, it's jammed from the Walt Whitman Bridge down past 55, where an earlier crash is now cleared. 676 southbound jamming Morgan Boulevard down to 42, and it's heavy on 295 southbound from 30 down to the 42 freeway. Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. For more traffic information, log on to SigAlert.com. I'm Brendan Joseph with your Philadelphia area traffic.
This is Solomon Jones, and I'm back on WURD 900 AM and 96.1 FM, and we are going to move our community forward. Tune in at 7 weekdays on WURD.
I'm back by popular demand. Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you Word listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that Word 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
Support independent black media and join the 4Word movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Mother's Day month. Time to celebrate mothering in families. Grandmothering, sisters, sons, daughters, mothering, and indeed mothering by fathers taking good care of their children, and sometimes children who are not their own. Ask these people what they want. They'll say, I just want everyone to be good to each other, and no matter what, we're family. Well, let's remember, good mothering is recognized by folks who can say, through it all, God is love, we are family.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to Solutions on WURD. This is Bishop Dwayne Royster without Amadi Braxton tonight. We're lifting up Amadi, as I mentioned earlier. She's not feeling too hot, and but we hope she'll be back with us next week at our regular time and regular show. So we actually want to switch gears a little bit and bring back onto the air Yolanda Brinkley. Some of you remember Yolanda was on the show with us a few weeks ago sharing about a festival that she founded alongside the Cannes Film Festival called Diversity in Cannes Film Festival, which really focused on bringing diversity to Cannes of all different types. She is online with us now from Cannes. This is her very last day in Cannes. Yolanda, welcome to Solutions. How are you tonight?
Bonjour, je vais très bien, merci, et toi?
Comment allez-vous?
Je vais très, très bien. Je suis un peu fatiguée, mais ça va quand même.
Wonderful.
Hello, people. It's Yolanda of the Philly Brinkleys. What's going on?
Of the Philly Brinkleys that's in the house tonight. And we should say that Yolanda Brinkley is a native Philadelphian, but has spent some time working in the film industry and as a publicist, and founded the Diversity in Cannes Film Festival about 10 years ago, which has been invested in by some really heavy hitters out in Hollywood and to support the work. Yolanda, tell us, how did the festival go this year, both Cannes and also the Diversity in Cannes Film Festival?
Well, I'm going to start with Diversity in Cannes, as it's our 10th anniversary, and it was super, super fabulous. From the short film screenings that we had to the special awards, we welcomed Yolanda Ross from Showtime's The Chi, as well as Rob Morgan from Mudbound to our panel. They were a part of an official selection film that was in the actual Cannes Film Festival. Mm-hmm. So they participated in the panel. We also awarded a young 12-year-old girl, Anna Ambucci from Chicago, the Rising Star Award, because at the precious age of 11, she wrote, produced, and directed her short film, in his image about anti-bullying. So wow. We had a wonderful time. We celebrated with cocktail receptions, too, and a party. And so we really showed up and showed out for our decade of diversity here in Cannes.
Well, let me ask you this question. Because of the work that you've been doing out there, are you seeing more diversity in the Cannes Film Festival?
No.
Okay.
In short, I'm seeing very few baby steps. So I have to say, there is some movement, but it's so slow. It's super slow. And I don't know whether it's from the heart. Actually, folks are just jumping on the bandwagon. I read a few weeks ago in Deadline magazine that an organization that I had approached years ago, and the headline was, I won't say the name, but X organization brings diversity to Cannes with, short film showcases or whatever have you. And in her quote, she says, they're getting on the bandwagon. So folks are definitely just jumping on the bandwagon, not because it's from the heart, but because it's the thing to do. It's now trending.
Sure. So let me ask you this. I mean, part of, our show is deeply about politics and about solutions. And I wondered if you could answer this question for me, right? What does it do for the psyche of folk to be able to see themselves in film?
Well, one, for the psyche of folks to see positive images of yourself in media, whether it be film, television, internet, whatever have you. It reinforces the fact that you are valued and that you are worth something. For me, the bigger picture is helping to change the perception that other people see. Mm-hmm. So then it changes their reality for us.
I got you on that. And I'm curious, because I remember you when you were here, you were saying there was about 300 films that you were reviewing for diversity in Cannes. Who were the big winners?
359.
359 films. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a lot of film to review.
Exactly.
Who were the big winners for you?
So the big winners for me this year was a little film out of Jamaica called Flight by Kia Moses and Adrian McDonald. They were big winners. We had some Audience Choice Award winners. A filmmaker by the name of Kelly Calley. She's from USC, a graduate of USC, and she had Jimmy Jean-Louis and Marcel Bouvet in her film. It's called Lalo's House, and it's about human trafficking. We had some films out of Germany that won Best Director. We had a film, Arthur Rimbaud, out of France, that was Director's Choice, which is the award from me. So we had a film called Suck, which was the Jury Choice Award. So we had a lot of great projects to kind of shine during this time from all over the world.
Wow. Now, I was told by somebody that I'm supposed to ask you about the Black Bull Riding film.
Okay, yes. So you must have been told by Mr. Mark.
Yes.
Because I spoke with him this morning. And the name of the film is called Bull. Mm-hmm. It stars Rob Morgan. It stars Yolanda Ross. Mm-hmm. And it's an official selection of the 72nd Festival de Cannes in the Uncertain Regard piece of the Uncertain Regard section of the festival. And it's about like an aging bull rider who comes up against, not up against, but who meets a teen, is really his neighbor, and they just go through some things while she's trying to find herself and he's trying to kind of figure out what's next for him and their exchange. It's about the exchange. Mm-hmm. So it's a very good film.
Awesome.
And they were as a part of Diversity Day. So I watched the film last week, went to their cocktail party and celebration. And the thing about Rob Morgan is when I invited him to participate in Diversity in Cannes, he changed his flight to participate. And they, in turn, received the Global Excellence Film Award, he and Yolanda Ross, from Diversity in Cannes.
Wonderful. Now, just flip into the Cannes Film Festival for a minute, are there any particular diversity winners that you would highlight from Cannes outside of this particular film? Are there others that maybe have been both in Diversity in Cannes and Cannes simultaneously?
Okay, well, no, we are just short. So the films that are in Diversity in Cannes would not be in the official selection.
Gotcha.
But there are two films worthy of mention that I can think of right off the top of my head. One is called Atlantique. It's by Marty Diop, and she's a Senegalese-French director, the first black female director to be in the competition section of the Cannes Film Festival. Mm-hmm. I saw her film. I fell asleep, so I'm sorry. I can't be of much help in terms of whether it was good or not. And then there's another film. It's called Port Authority. And it stars the first ever trans woman to be in a film, to star in a film in Cannes. and that film is called Port Authority, and that's out of the U.S.
Okay, that's awesome. So let me ask you, so now you've got your 10th year under your belt. I know that it's late there, and you are hanging out to be on the show, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
What's year 11 look like for the festival?
Well, year 11 is going to look like some of what year 10 should have looked like, and we are producing our first short film.
Okay.
Because our mission is to expand the international network of globally diverse filmmakers and to strategize to find ways for them to finance, produce, and distribute their films. So it's like we're going to start walking the walk and producing our first short film, which is inspired by a relative, my cousin Kevin Brinkley.
Okay. Is he of the Philadelphia Brinkleys too? I'm just curious.
Yes, he is.
I appreciate the Philly connection in all of this as well. I think that's really important. I think it's important that homegrown folk know that they can, have their films and have their work seen on the international stage. I think that's absolutely critical for a community that's often told what it can't do, that you're showing us what we can do when we put our mind to it.
Absolutely. I rep my city wherever I go. Although I haven't really lived there as an adult, I do rep my city anywhere I go, from Atlanta to Illinois to North Jersey to California. People ask me, where are you from? I'm from Philadelphia. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Well, I don't live there.
1.6 million people, but do you know? Yes.
Exactly. So.
I got you. So, when you get back on the ground, what are you up to when you get back here? I know you're going to be working on your film. What else? What other things do you have going on?
I'm going to be working on my film, and then my mother. For those people who are listening who may know me, I refer to her as the homeowner, but she will be 75 come July 3rd. So as soon as I get back, I am on the ground party planning for the big 7-5 birthday party.
Well, happy birthday, Mother Brinkley.
Yes, no rest for the weary.
Absolutely. We celebrate her because she brought you into the world, and we are deeply appreciative of everything that you have done for us and be becoming a friend of our show. We hope to stay connected with you and bring you back in as new developments arise around diversity in Cannes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Get some rest now. That's Yolanda Brinkley, founder of the Diversity in Cannes Film Festival, calling in from Cannes, France, to share with us on the last day of the Cannes Film Festival all that happened over the last year. Let me just say that, part of the reason we want to talk about things in popular culture like film, short film, and also long-form film too, is the reality that what happens in film is a direct reflection of what happens in society, but it's also a methodology for us to have imagination about what could be in society at the same time. I'm reminded of Octavia Butler, the Afrofuturist who wrote sci-fi novels to help give us an imagination about what the possibilities are. Far too often we look at the realities that are around us, we see the things that we perceive to be limiting us, and we lack imagination to imagine what a new future could look like, or even what a new Philadelphia could look like. But when we engage in the imaginative process of creativity that comes out of filmmaking, that comes out of music, that comes out of a variety of artistic vehicles to tell our stories, then we are actually able, in a very powerful way, in a very dramatic way, being able to help expand the minds of our siblings, our sisters and brothers that are out there. We are actually able to think about where we want to go and how we want to get there. And so I'm excited for folk like Yolanda Brinkley from Philadelphia, who 10 years ago, or actually 11 years ago, was at the Cannes Film Festival, and who looked and said, there's a problem here because there's not diversity, and who developed and started a film festival specifically designed to bring diversity to the Cannes Film Festival so that folk of color and women and LGBTQ folk and the disabled community and folk from Africa and South America and other parts of the world that were not European were actually able to tell their story stories and to have their movies viewed. That's what transformation looks like. That's what having imagination looks like. And that's the kind of grittiness that comes out of Philadelphians who will say over and over again, it might not exist yet, but we're going to figure it out and we're going to make it happen so that everybody has a chance to experience the fullness of life, of every race, of every culture, of every ethnicity, of every gender and gender identity, that we're actually able to bring our best selves to the table, tell our shared stories so that we can learn about each other and recognize that we have more in common than we have not in common with one another as human beings across the country. Well, thank you again, Yolanda, for joining us and for sharing that. And in the days and weeks to come, we're actually going to bring in other authors, other filmmakers, other playwrights, other actors and actresses to share that story, because we know that they too have a responsibility in this movement time that we live in to be able to share stories and help us to imagine our collective future together. So you have been listening to Solutions on WURD. We're up for at the end of our first hour, so we're going to take a break here. When we come back on the other side, I think we're going to listen to a little bit of music from Al Reed Jr. off his album, The Middleweight Champ, and then we're going to jump back in. I want you to call in, though, 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065 or 1-866-361-0900. I know it's Memorial Day weekend, but I want to hear from you about what you think about the future of Philadelphia, considering the election. How are we going to get our 44,000 votes to make sure Trump doesn't win Pennsylvania again? And what are you going to do to change the damn world? We'll be right back.
Brothers and sisters, don't miss The Source. Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Word Radio, WordRadio.com, and the Word Radio app.
Searching for a home care agency that provides care both needed and deserved? Call My Independence at Home at 215-921-2277 for a free in-home consultation. We are committed to providing compassionate home care for the elderly and adults with physical disabilities. 215-921-2277.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense. Join Word Radio for the Philly Farm Social, Friday, May 31st from 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. at the Sankofa Community Farm at Bartram's Garden, 5400 Lindbergh Boulevard. This special event is part of our EcoWord Environmental Justice Initiative. Come out for a powerful conversation, cooking demonstration, and food tasting, where we will explore urban farming, food insecurity, and seasonal cooking. Our special guests will be Christopher Bolden Newsom, founding co-director of the Sankofa Community Farm, food and drink historian Tanya Hopkins, and LaQuanda Dobson, member of the Black Dirt Farm Collective and assistant farmer at Sankofa Community Farm. Tickets are just $25, $15 for 4Word members. For tickets and additional information, or to start or renew your 4Word membership, visit wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. Drive in with Solomon Jones. Drive home with Charles Ellison. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent black media.
Welcome back. As we are in our Memorial Day weekend, we thought we'd bring you a little jazz to get you prepared for your weekend. That's Al Reed Jr. off his album, The Middleweight Champ. The name of that song is I Am Not Funking Around. Amen. We want to make sure we got that name correct because the FCC don't want to cause no trouble. But that's a great young man, 25-year-old sax player who is just doing stuff. This is a sophomore album that he has put out, The Middleweight Champ. And so invite you to check out on YouTube or other spaces, Al Reed Jr. off his album, The Middleweight Champ. And we have another song coming up a little later called Clarity that we're going to lift up on the show as well. All right. So I just need a personal moment for a pet peeve. So I was watching TV earlier today, and so there were all these advertisements, public service announcements out here basically saying we want to thank all the military for their service. And I needed to remind folk that there is a difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Memorial Day honors those that have lost their life in the service of the United States military. And we also honor those five-star families that have lost as a result of the work. Veterans Day and there are other holidays for vets. We honor veterans at those times. And no disrespect to any veteran out there who has served our country. We certainly appreciate your service and everything that you have done. But at the same time, I want to say that Memorial Day is about lifting up those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, gave their lives as a result of serving in one of the many branches of the military. And usually in some form of war area. So just wanted to lift that up and invite you to remember that this weekend, and especially remember those families that have lost both recently and in the distant past loved ones as a result of serving our country. I know a lot of you are going to be getting ready for barbecues and doing a bunch of other things, but we have to remember what this holiday celebration, if we can call it a holiday celebration, is all about. Is remembering those that have given their lives as the ultimate sacrifice. So to all of our listeners out there who are veterans, thank you. For those families out there who have lost loved ones in the service of the United States military and in form of protecting this nation, we give you thanks as well. All right, so I want to jump in with a couple of things that we want to pick up on. So Asa Khalif, when we were talking a little earlier, we were lifting up some of the challenges and issues that comes with trying to build a black political bloc here in Philadelphia. And I know coming along as I did, there were actually 2 or 3 of them, different blocks in different parts of the city, led by different folk. Sometimes they were agitational to each other, but they managed to actually bring some semblance of black power or black empowerment to Philadelphia government. And then, to some extent, after a period of time of getting in place, sort of caught up in the usual trappings of political wranglings with folk, beginning to serve other masters, if you would, in a way, whether it's because of PAC dollars or because of loyalty or because of what people said they can deliver votes. And somehow or another, the citizens, the people of Philadelphia get lost in the process. Here we are in this particular moment in time, as we were talking about Memorial Day, recognizing that it's the people that you vote for that can set your folk off to war, whether it's a governor that can mobilize a National Guard, and National Guards have been mobilized, people have died, whether it is the federal government mobilizing military and reserve officers and inactive reserves when they call them back in terms of time of war. That are determining the future of your family. And I want to go back. This is a real struggle I'm having in that this election was basically 250,000 voters of a city that has 1 million voters. Potentially over 500,000 of those voters are African American alone. That doesn't include any other ethnic group or racial group. And here we stand at this moment in time, sort of like looking and saying, well, what happened? We had some great candidates that were out there, some people that were really active in the movement, that were really some changers and shapers of trying to create public policy. There was the Krasner Coalition that was out there. I'm trying to figure out what happened that we did not see Deep change. Yes, Rochelle Bilal beat Jewel Williams. And as she should, with all the scandal that was out there, right? We saw that because Bill Greenlee and Blondell Reynolds Brown stepped down, we have two new folk that have come into office. One that has credentials with unions and community organizations by the name of Isaiah Thomas. We saw Helen Gim, who's an activist and out there on the front lines, especially around education, organizing, and advocacy, certainly picked that up. But Alan Dom won again. And there were other folk that won again as well. And so, my question is, what are we going to do about this, folk? It's not enough to just talk about it. It's like we have to really organize. Mr. Shamari was talking about earlier today is that we've got to really come together and imagine the city all over again. When you have, you're more than a third of the population, almost bordering 50% of the population, and yet the communities that suffer the deepest are the African-American communities. Where the poverty is the deepest are African-American communities. Where kids are going hungry the most are African-American communities. Where the schools really are not in good shape are in African-American communities. At some point, you got to say, you got to get off the, you got to, I can't say that on the air, but there used to be expression, basically you gotta go to the bathroom or get off the pot, one or the other, to be able to do something. So, what are we going to do? I heard Asa saying that we've got to organize, we've got to build our own political machine. I said we've got to be able to self-fund it as well, that we can't always depend on other folk to fund our movement, that we have to organize, that we have to have a long-term trajectory. A lot of times folk just want to build out. We just want to do something for 3 months, 6 months, and that's the end of it. What's the 10-year plan for Philadelphia, and how are we going to address this? I need you to call in. Talk to me about this. 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. You can call in toll free, 1-866-361-0900. If you're outside of Philly, I know we have folk that are all over the place that are listening tonight. We got folk from Syracuse, New York, folk from Florida that are listening, folk from Maryland that are listening, D.C. That are listening to the show. We want to hear from you. I mean, because this doesn't just affect Philadelphia, it affects the rest of our country. Literally, if everybody in Philadelphia turned out, if every person of color that's eligible to vote in Philadelphia turned out, we could actually dramatically transform federal elections, we could transform state elections, we could transform local elections, and that could really be something very positive in terms of the healing and the hope and the wholeness for our communities that are struggling deeply. After all, it's our kids that are hurting. After all, it's our folk that don't have the resources that they need. After all, it's our folk that are afraid to go to walk outside at night. So how are we going to step up and make this thing happen and make it happen differently? How are we going to put our pocketbooks to put the change out of our pocketbooks? I remember the story years ago about how folk founded schools, and they would collect their nickels and dimes together, and when they were in church, and they would in community spaces until they raised enough money to open a school. How are we going to do the same thing right now? Because if we don't, then all we're destined to do is leave ourselves stuck in the mess and the muck and the mire that we are in right now. Well, Maurice from Southwest Philly is calling in right now. Maurice, welcome to Solutions of WURD. You are live.
Thank you so much. You know I love this show. Let me tell you something. First of all, the election is not over.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Let's not give up. All right, they didn't vote, okay? Now it's time to get them vote. We got 4 months to do this. We got to find an independent candidate we can respect, preferably a woman, because I think a woman can beat Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And what we need to do is go out like we went for Obama, knock on door to door. All of a sudden, we forget how we got people out to vote before. Now, we talked about Obama till it was nauseating.
Yep.
And number one, I'm blame URD. You know why? Because only people that call URD is enlightened. So we got to put our members and our people that listen to work.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody calls this station, we should say, "Are you registered to vote?"
All right, Maurice, I'm gonna stop you right there. How many people are you going to register to vote, and how many people are you going to get to vote out to vote in the November election?
I was knocking door to door in this election.
Okay.
And I was one of the first ones to come out that say the queen needs to die, and that's Janie Blackwell. I was one of the first. I've been saying.
But let's not say she needs to die.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you.
I got you. Literally die, because like I told you before, I wanted Janie Blackwell to be the first black female mayor. But when I see she put a prison in the neighborhood, that turned my stomach.
Sure.
And then also they act like 46 and Market that's one of the biggest points. Should have been an election, because not only did you waste $42 million, you went and spent another $250 million on the building downtown.
Yeah.
People don't know that, and we need to put that in their ear until they throw up and tired of hearing.
I got you. Maurice, we're having a little trouble with your signal. You're you're kind of breaking up a little bit. So we're going to let you go here, but if you can find a place where you can get a better signal, give us a call back. We appreciate that. No, I think Maurice is right. We got to make some changes. We got to do something differently. I'm sure I'm stepping on some toes when I'm talking about the respectability, but we have folk in office that are not working in the best interest of our communities. They need to go. And we need to reach out to the folk of color that live out in the Northeast, because y'all need to step up and do some work too out there with your council district. And also you got a state rep out there that needs to go as well, if we're going to be real honest about it, and in terms of the influence that she's having out in Harrisburg that's impacting our communities in a real negative way. We need to be able to figure that out. I believe the solution in many ways is that we not only do we have to vote, but we have to be able to build independent political power. So we need a container, a holder, an institution of some sort that is able to amass enough power and it has enough people that are a part of it, that's self-funded, that can't be influenced by outside organizations, institutions, that's a truly democratic organization that has the ability to walk into city council hearings, and because of the numbers of people that are engaged in the work, when they say something, people have to listen. When they go to the state capitol, they do that. When they go to the federal government, they do that. You can't get elected in Philadelphia unless you come through these folk who affirm in that not just affirm your platform, but say to you, you must adopt our platform and give us a plan on how you're going to implement it. Otherwise, you don't get support. That this institution is also raising up and preparing another generation of leaders that are going to take over and run the city. That's the solution that we have to get at right now. And I agree with Maurice. The election is not over yet. We actually have the potential to recruit somebody to run an independent mayoral campaign for November, somebody that's from the community that could begin to do that. Who are the people that you have in mind that you would love to see run an independent political campaign for mayor here in the city of Philadelphia that could actually win because of the base of people that they interact with? Call us and let us know who you're thinking about. 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. 1-866-361-0900. You can call in on the show, and you are actually able to think about, help us imagine who could be the candidate that could lead Philadelphia to a new place, who could collectively reach out to that 500,000 person voting block here in the city of Philadelphia and win with enough votes to be able to transform the city of Philadelphia. I believe it's possible. I think it can happen. I think you need to let us know who it is. Raphael Suleiman is certainly giving us some ideas about what could happen online. We think that there are other folk out there. Ken Goodrich saying I should run. Unfortunately, I can't run. I don't live in Philly right now. But if I lived in Philly, you just never know. As most politicians, they never say yes and they never say no. They just you just never know. There are other folk that are listening right now to the show. I know that Kia Booker's out there listening. My cousin Sanchia Gomez, Gary Bryant is out there. I know that there are other folk. Jane Cosby's listening to the show tonight. Come on in and call our show and let us know who should be running as an independent candidate for mayor here in the city of Philadelphia, so that we can create some change. We can stir some things up. Well, look, we're up on another break. We're going to take a break. We got callers calling in on the line, so come on and get in queue. When we come back, we're going to check out Clarity for Al Reed Jr. from his album, The Middleweight Champ. You're listening to Solutions on WRD. This is Bishop Dwayne Royster. We'll be right back.
The Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts is excited to present the next installment of their Jazz Residency collaboration for 2019. In its 6th year, the Kimmel's Jazz Residency program is designed for groups of local artists to create their amazing personal stories through the jazz music genre. Performing in the Kimmel's SEI Innovation Studio Thursday, June 6th will be trombonist Dan Blacksburg with percussionist Joseph Goldman. Friday, June 7th will feature the amazing sounds of guitarist David Allen, poet laureate Raquel Salas Rivera, and violinist Diana Monroe. And June 8th, the soulful Latin American composer Dariel Peñazek, lyricist Maya Peñazek, and singer Ariacine Trujillo. Tickets on sale now for these special BYO events. Visit kimmelcenter.org or call 215-893-1999. Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM, WURD.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Philadelphia, this is Roland Martin, and I'm partnering with the Education Media Group, the 74, to host the Is School Choice the Black Choice Town Hall event on May 29, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Mastery Charter School's Shoemaker campus. Our goal is simple: to convene local stakeholders and help stimulate more genuine fact-based conversations about the tough education issues impacting black folks in Philadelphia. We will also hear from local and national education leaders as we debunk myths about school choice and empower participants with the resources to choose the best options for you. This event is free of charge and child care will be provided. We'll also have a partner networking fair 30 minutes before and after the event where you can learn more about additional engagement opportunities with the various organizations that will be represented. Log on to Eventbrite and search for Is School Choice the Black Choice to register for this event. We look forward to seeing you there.
3, 2, 1. Oh no. Which button am I?
When every second counts, you can't wing it.
Guys, a little help up here?
In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So make a family home fire escape plan. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year so everyone knows what to do when they hear. Prepare your family at ready.gov/firedrill. Brought to you by FEMA, the Ad Council, and Make Safe Happen.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
That was Al Reed Jr. off his album, The Middleweight Champ. The name of that song was called Clarity. You should check out Al Reed Jr. He's a Philadelphian, 25-year-old Philadelphian. That was him on the sax. I invite you to check out his album. You can find it also on Apple and Google and some other places as well. Great music from a great Philadelphian, the middleweight champ, Al Reed Jr. All right, so we are going to jump back in. We are talking about what we're going to do to change Philadelphia. And Mo from North Philly is on the line. Mo, welcome to Solutions.
Yeah, I remember back in 1979, we had a black political convention here in the winter, and we decided at that convention to run Charles Bowser in the primary, and he ran, and some funny stuff went on, and William Green wound up winning in some funny way. And I said we should have the same thing. We should have another convention, but I saw on the news where Milton Street said he wanted to run as an independent. Because I'm not voting for the Democrats. They not get my vote. That's all I told them. I'm not voting for Mayor Doherty. I'm not doing that anymore. That's it. They're not getting my vote, man. And I'm tired of those sorry house Negroes down in City Hall. All this stuff is happening. You can't blame Donald Trump for what's going on in Philadelphia. It's the Democrats that are doing it. We got to be honest. Real. See, they want to point fingers at Donald Trump while they doing this stuff up here in the city. All politics are local.
Absolutely.
And you see it right in front of our face, man. So I'm voting. So we need, like Maurice said, we got enough time to get an independent candidate. Now, Milton Street is serious. You need to be out in the street organizing and having some type of meetings right now for people to start backing them.
Well, Mo, who else is out there? Because Raphael Suleiman's basically saying, look, this is the moment when we actually need women leadership and women of color in particular. So is there somebody that we can, some woman that you would think of that would be an excellent leader that we could wrap get behind and push for independent mayoral campaign?
Yeah, I don't know whether she's eligible to run for mayor because she ran
for at large.
Sandra Dungy Glenn, the sister that got the school down on Broad Street.
Okay.
Jacob's sister. She'll make a good mayor.
Veronica Jordan, you're talking about.
Veronica Jordan,
yeah.
Because I can't get I'm not voting for these Democrats. The sister that come on the radio on 10 o'clock on Word, they were disrespected by Kenny and them. He just showed them that you don't need their vote, so we need to show him we don't need him or his man Dockett. They got to go.
So let me ask a question, though. So do you think that these folk you're talking about, Sandra Dungy Glenn, Veronica Jordan, are they willing to break with the Democratic Party to run an independent campaign, recognizing that ultimately that could be political suicide moving forward? Do they have enough to be able to get on board and run an independent campaign?
I don't know, because their main, if they did it, I guess their main opponents or their main enemy would be some of these black men in the city. Like, look what they did to their sister Arlene Ackerman. She was having success. It was black men that stabbed them in the back and destroyed their sister. You know, and I believe that there's some woman out there that could really lead this city, a black woman. But we got to get away from the Democratic Party, because they have done nothing for us. And since we've been in it, all they do is buy out these Negroes, and none of these candidates, none of them, I don't care who they are, should ever again run unopposed. None of them. Every last one of them should have somebody out there that's going to put some heat under their behind and let them know you're not going to sell us out and come back and to the black community and face us. Any of these Negro politicians that does that, they're going to be labeled a pariah and never allowed back around us again and put them out of office. All of them, any of them that's cutting these deals with these developers, all of them need to be exposed. Only problem I have with Janie, that if she knew this stuff was going on, she should have opened up her mouth and told us what was going on.
Right.
Instead of sitting up there, because she was made to look like she was the villain. And she said she didn't want to get dirty. But what's dirty is how black people been moved out of their houses.
Right.
That's worse. She should have spoke up. And she was wrong. And I'll tell you something else about that deal on 46 and Market. It ain't the way these people think it went down with Janie. It would have been, if it had went down and they was able to get a hold of that, it would have benefited black people, I'm telling you, from what I know. If somebody will come forth and tell you the whole story, It wasn't JD's fault. She was duped. I'm telling you. But she should have opened up her mouth, man.
I hear you on that.
And this to the, we just got to get out of that Democratic Party. That's the bottom line. And you got, it's just sickening, man.
Well, I mean, I think I agree with you on that to some extent. That we got to figure out what we got to do. The question is, will these folk, would Sandra Dungy Glenn, would Veronica Joyner, be willing to run those campaigns? Would they be willing to stand up to the party? Because certainly there's going to be a lot of pressure on whoever it is to run for them to drop out, because they were afraid that they would lose, the Democratic Party would lose votes, and that they would also be concerned. Now, we should say that in the Philadelphia charter, if you run for one office and you lose in the primary, you cannot run as an independent in the general. But it doesn't mean that you can't run for a different office. That's actually a really interesting point you bring up, Mo. Because sometimes you got to dot your I's across your T's. And in this particular circumstance, right, they can't run for a council at large on an independent ticket, but it doesn't mean they couldn't run for city commissioner. It doesn't mean they couldn't run for mayor or another position.
Right.
I want to go back and check the city charter on that, and I'm sure that there's some lawyer out there, somebody who knows the charter well that's listening, can call into the show. But I'm willing to bet that they could probably do that, and that would be a really interesting opportunity for somebody to really step up and look, if nothing else, be bold. Right, because what we really need in this moment is bold imagination, bold creativity that's going to disrupt the systems that keep folk oppressed here in Philadelphia, and that we need some folk that are willing to be disruptors and then work towards trying to bring about a new Philly.
Yeah, because if they take that stand, we got to be there to support them and protect them. Just like the stuff that happened to that sister, Rochelle Bilal, when she went up to that Relish restaurant, they wouldn't let her in. Now, she's my understanding, she's a Muslim.
Yes.
Some of the people up there that's affiliated with that union stuff, some of them are Muslim. Some of them came through the Nation of Islam when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was alive.
Mm-hmm.
When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they had the convention, say he was there, what have you, and I've seen pictures with him and Malcolm sitting together.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a banner up there that said, we must protect our most valuable property, our women. Meaning that black women should be respected and protected.
Right.
Now, some of them brothers, they know better. That sister should have never been treated like that. I mean, even if she wasn't a Muslim, and she's the Democrat, she had a right to be there. And you gonna treat her like that? That was wrong, man.
I hear you, Mo. I hear you.
If you eating Johnny Doc bread, you gotta sing Johnny Doc song. That's the way them Negroes are going. They do a better tap dance and routine than Bilbo Jangles and the Nicholas brothers. Man.
Well,
I'm telling you.
Well, that's why we need black independent power, right, to be able to rival what the building trades and other PACs are doing, to take care of themselves, but they're not doing everything they can to take care of the rest of the city of Philadelphia.
Right.
So I'm in agreement with you, brother. We have to come up with a new day and a new way to take Philadelphia back and to turn it back around. So, Mo, appreciate you giving a call in to the show, and have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You too, bro.
All right. Phone lines are open, 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. Who do you all think should run independent mayoral campaign? I've heard folk talk about this today. Brother Shamari was talking about it earlier today. Brother Asa Khalif was on the line talking about it today. Online, Raphael Suleiman's talking about it right now. We're talking about it right now on the air. Who do we think could run an independent campaign for mayor here in the city of Philadelphia? That who would you want to see get up and run that race and begin to turn things around here in the city? You're right, it's not over. That's part of the way that we think that because the primaries are over, then everything else is done. But that's not exactly the case. There's always a possibility of doing something else, adding somebody else to the list, running an independent campaign. Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to run a whole bunch of independent campaigns, run independents against everybody, and make them work hard to get the votes that we need across the city of Philadelphia. We have Frank calling in from West Philly. Frank, thanks for calling in on Solutions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Okay. I had a thought and plan in terms of the issues that's plaguing Philadelphia. Hardy Williams, about 10, 15 years ago, when he was alive, he was on the right track. For some reason, and Hardy was a brilliant man, and for some reason, it kind of fell through the wayside. What he was trying to do, I don't know what happened to it. And what he did was, he brought people to the table at the convention center. And there's no one answer to our problems in Philadelphia. We all have to agree with that. And it's like spokes in a wheel. You can't have one spoke to make the wheel stable. I mean, you may not be able to have 5 spokes. It may take 15 or 20 spokes. And the spokes that I'm talking about is you bring people to the table, experts, people who are good in the area. Now, what are the problems plaguing us? I'm here to tell you a solution, not the Democratic Party. That's not going to solve anything. We got to solve our own problems. We can't wait for another 4 years to deal with a black female mayor or, let's deal with what are the problems? Employment, poverty, crime, and that will bring the family back together. Jobs. You bring people together like Hardy Williams did. Experts, getting people back into the church. That's part of it, the moral part of it. And you have the expert ministers. You don't have 100 of them. You may have 2 or 3 leaders of the black clergy. People in the job sector. People in the crime sector. And you sit down and the young people and the millennials at this symposium. And Hardy Williams did that. Okay, and they broke out in focus groups, and they never came up with a position paper in terms of here's our problems. Everybody knows what the problems are, but none of them has the solutions. But there are people out there who's bright enough with the solutions, and if you bring them together, for example, at a symposium, at a convention center, because you'll need that size or facility, and you listen to them, the young people, the old people, the crime, and you put together a position paper in terms of how do we bring the black family back, because that's where it all starts. It starts with the black family, the father, the mother, and if the father's not there, you bring mentors in as a substitute, okay? But that's part of the problem. That's one spoke, the mentoring. Religion, that's another spoke in the wheel. Crime, that's another spoke in the wheel. But it all has to be addressed in a manner that is uniform, and you've got a plan. And you go to the governor, you go, hopefully the next president will be a Democrat, and you go to those folks saying, we need X amount of dollars for this plan, okay, to facilitate it and put it in place. But you have to have a plan, and one spoke, we got to get kids jobs.
That's right.
Guess what? That's not going to solve the problem, but that one spoke. Or we got to get them back in the church. That's not going to solve the problem, that one spoke. There may be 20 spokes to keep that wheel stable. But we have to have that symposium, and we have to have somebody that put together that symposium that's brighter than Frank, okay, that can put it together and not have 50 police officers there. You may have 2 or 3, Ross or somebody.
Sure.
And you put together that plan, and you identify the issues, and then you identify the answers. And you may have 20 spokes in that wheel, but you got to do it in a uniform manner.
I got you, Frank. We appreciate you calling in. I think you might be sparking some energy, some thinking out there. Some folk maybe are listening and saying, you know what, I'm going to take this upon myself. Just like Yolanda Brinkley went to Cannes Film Festival, and although she didn't live in France, she's from Philly, she looked around and she saw what was going on, and she said that she was going to create a new film festival. Perhaps somebody's listening tonight, looking around at what's happening in Philadelphia, and is going to make a commitment to themselves right now and basically say, you know what, I am going to go and we're going to put together this summit of leaders that are going to come and have a conversation about what the African American community needs here in Philadelphia. So, Frank, thanks for calling in and being on Solutions. We're up on a break, and when we come back on the other side, Justin DeBerdinis, who was the sixth person that came in, and the top 6 candidates for City Council at large, is going to be on the line with us to talk about the future of Philadelphia, what he's hoping for in this moment in time. You're listening to Solutions on WURD. We'll be right back.
Listen to Word Radio on the go with the Word Radio app. Search for WURD in your favorite app store today and take us with you wherever you go. Stay connected to Word Radio, independent Black media.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word. No, not the station, but the word. J-O-B, that is. And our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious breads in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they're hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days of employment. Call Scott Drummond at 856-754-0360 or visit amorosos.com for details.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation? Follow us on social media using the hashtag onWURD. Be heard. Stay connected to Word Radio, independent Black media.
AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Commercial painting. Hi, my name is Umar the Painter. With 17 years of experience painting and exterminating in the tri-state area, anything that you need for your home improvement, I can make sure it happens at any price and any budget. If you're looking for someone that's reliable, that pays close attention to detail, and is affordable, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Bug extermination, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Youth education, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Come on, say it.
Join Word Radio for the Philly Farm Social, Friday, May 31st from 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. at the Sankofa Community Farm at Bartram's Garden, 5400 Lindbergh Boulevard. This special event is part of our EcoWord Environmental Justice Initiative. Come out for a powerful conversation, cooking demonstration, and food tasting, where we will explore urban farming, food insecurity, and seasonal cooking. Our special guests will be Christopher Bolden Newsom, founding co-director of the Sankofa Community Farm, food and drink historian Tanya Hopkins, and LaQuanda Dobson, member of the Black Dirt Farm Collective and assistant farmer at Sankofa Community Farm. Tickets are just $25, $15 for 4Word members. For tickets and additional information, or to start or renew your 4Word membership, visit wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to Solutions on WURD. This is Dwayne Royster, your host. I am missing Miss Amadi Braxton tonight, but we're praying that she gets feeling better and will be back with us on next week. And it's been a really good show. We have one more guest coming on right now. And so I'm excited about the conversation we're having about the future of Philly, about how we're going to build out a political base that's really going to address the issues of the most marginalized and oppressed folk in the city of Philadelphia. But I want to welcome to Solutions Justin DeBerdinis, who was a city council at large candidate. He also was the executive director of Bartram Gardens, worked formerly for City Councilwoman Maria Quinones Sanchez, was a community organizer here in the city of Philadelphia, and did work around education organizing. Justin, welcome to Solutions on WURD.
Happy to be here, Bishop Royster. I was also glad to hear that Sankofa Farm spot just before I came on here.
Okay.
WURD is doing an event there at the Garden this weekend.
Awesome.
Nice to hear that.
Oh, awesome. So, Justin, first of all, thank you for running and putting your name out there.
Sure.
I think that it's important for people to engage in civic process, and you just a couple thousand votes shy of getting in that 5th spot.
Yeah. It's a real thing to just miss on one of these things. You know what I mean? I'll say this, Bishop. Better to lose by a couple thousand votes than a couple hundred. You know what I mean?
Right.
You really kick yourself. We ran a good campaign. It just, we needed one more big piece of land that wasn't quite there, but I feel good about it. You got to feel good about 42,000 votes.
Absolutely. That's a great number.
Yeah, exactly. I feel pretty good on that number.
Awesome. Justin, as you think about Philadelphia moving forward, and I mean, first of all, Philadelphia is the city of the comeback, right? So that, what happened here doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen down the road. And I've learned that from being in Philadelphia in this region for a very long time. Philadelphia loves an underdog story. But what's your hope and dream for Philadelphia moving forward as you're imagining, this moment in terms of the city's history?
I'm glad you talk about this in the context of a comeback, because I actually think that's our moment as a city right now. I think for a long time, I spent my whole life in this town. I was born in Kensington. I grew up in Fishtown in the 80s and 90s. And I think the question for a lot of Philadelphians, I think the governing question of this city was, were we going to have a comeback or not? Was this city just going to keep going down a road of decline till we're gone? I think that question's been answered. This city is having a comeback, but I think a whole series of important questions now need to be asked, which what is the nature of our comeback? Who is it coming back for?
Yeah.
What are we going to build in a city that's growing? I think the growth is unquestionable now. You can look at the numbers. There's more people living in this city every year, right? There are finally, for the first time in a long time, more jobs in this city every year. The city of Philadelphia has seen revenue growth every year for a decade for the first time since the Great Depression, Bishop.
Wow.
That's the first time in 100 years. So the old excuses of we don't have it, we don't have enough to do new things, we can't raise the standard, those excuses, those ways that we brush off any criticism of what we're doing or not doing, that needs to be a thing of the past. And we have to set a higher standard. And we've got to talk about the radical things we need to do to build the Philadelphia that I think a lot of us want to see, which is a city that's going to be defined by equity, a city that's still going to be for working people and working class people, a city where the diversity of this city is reflected in a great diversity of how power is shared. That's the city I hope to be a part of. That's the city I've been working towards building with as an organizer and with the work we're doing at Bartram's Garden. That's the city I was talking about as a candidate. That's the city I'm going to keep working towards. You know what I mean? I wasn't just talking about it. That's what I do. So, yeah, I'm going to stay on that.
I got you. What's next for you in this moment?
Well, I'm just going to tell you this, and this is like shameless plug and just coming after, WURD's got an event at the Garden. I think Bartram's Garden is just about the best place in Philadelphia. I don't know a lot of folks know that park. It is 50 acres of Fairmount Park down in Southwest, up on the Schuylkill River. We have built a program there led by that community where we now have one of the most racially and economically integrated public spaces in America.
Wow.
We got one of the best urban farms in America. We got one of the best programs in America. I was proud to build that for the last 6 years, and that's not a bad place to go. I mean, that's where I'm going every day. That's not just because the work is good, but it is a beautiful and special place, and it's a good place to get your heart healed. You know what I mean? So I'm a little wounded in the heart right now, and there's about no place as good as Bartram's Garden for me when you're in that condition.
Yeah, there's something about sticking your hand in the dirt. And getting dirty, and actually that makes me even think about Philadelphia. Yeah. Being down in D.C., people often say, well, how do you feel about being in D.C.? And I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It's not Philly. And people are like, what's Philadelphia like? I said, Philly's gritty. It's a kind of city where somebody cuss you out and they take you out for a beer later on in the day. That's for real. That's very real about Philadelphia.
That's the thing. People think the people of Philadelphia are mean. I'll tell you what I like about the people of Philadelphia. You know exactly where you stand.
Absolutely.
With all of them. They're going to let you know. No unnecessary politeness. And you see that on the trail. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'll have people meet you with some fierce negativity and opposition, and then maybe a couple months later, if you stayed on it, you won them over as a voter, and then they're with you hard. And that is about the sweetest feeling in the world. You know what I mean? And I appreciate how real everyone is in this town. This is a real town. So,
and let me ask you a question, though. I'm curious about something. So you grew up in Fishtown and Kensington area, but you didn't grow up in the Fishtown, Kensington of today, right?
No.
You grew up in the Fishtown and the Kensington that everybody talked about back in the day.
How
are you separating that with the voters?
For a lot of newer Philadelphians, when I say I'm from Fishtown, I then have to explain it was a real different Fishtown.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a union neighborhood. It was a white working class neighborhood. It was a neighborhood in decline. It was a neighborhood that had some real long-standing issues around race relations and racial violence. It was an outpost of the white working class in a part of town that had gone black and brown, and it defended its borders with some militancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll just be real. Like when I was a kid in Kensington, right, or Fishtown, growing up in the 90s, if I saw an African American in that neighborhood at night, I'd say, God help that man. You know what I mean? He's taking his life in his hands being here. You know, I'm glad it's not that way now. I do think that experiencing that as a youth, and then also having the ability, I'm a Philly public school guy, to go to a deseg school, go to a racially, leave my segregated neighborhood, and to get bused to a school that actually showed the racial diversity of this city, that was really changing and formative for me. And if I didn't have that experience to really understand who the other people were in this town, maybe those unnecessary divisions of hate would have set root in me the way I saw them set root in a lot of other people.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a beautiful part of my education. I regret that we've given up integration in public schools.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids in this city who benefit from that, and we didn't give up for that for any outcomes for kids. We gave up for it because of the fear of white flight. You know, I think that's the work we try to do at Bartram's. Can we create a space where young people from all different backgrounds can just be together on an equal footing and understand each other? And if there was one message in my campaign, that was what I was talking about, that in a city that's dealing with economic stratification, that's dealing with an increasing racial and cultural diversity, that it's a city that I think could tear itself apart if we're not careful. Are we building an architecture of integration? Are we building an architecture of equity? You know, that's what I think this town needs to do. I mean, that's how I think we're going to separate ourselves from other American cities, is really creating those spaces and that infrastructure so we can show a new kind of unity that I think this country's struggling for right now.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a beautiful picture that you're painting, too, of the young folk coming together at Bartram Gardens. First of all, that's a beautiful picture in and of itself, but then also that these young folk are also getting reconnected to the land that they live on, too.
And they're putting their hands in the soil, just like you said. We got 50 young folks from Bartram's High School who have jobs growing organic, no-till, African heritage produce with black farmers of Southwest Philadelphia. It's the best produce in Philadelphia. It's not at Whole Foods, Bishop. It's at Bartram's Garden. You know, you got young people setting their hands in the earth and reconnecting with the land and with their ancestors. I mean, that's really the belief of the Sankofa Farm. For people in diaspora, you might lose your oral or your written history, but your foodways still connect you to your ancestors hundreds of years later. And if we plant those same crops, we might find something we lost.
Wow.
That's the belief.
That's a beautiful picture right there. We're going to end it on that, Justin. Thank you for giving us a call in. Thank you for your service to the city and for making the run. And we just appreciate it. We look forward to great things continuing to come from you in the days and months and years ahead.
Bishop Royster, thank you so much for having me. I appreciated it.
No problem. Take care now. That was Justin D. Bernardinis, who just made a run for city council at large in Democratic primary. He came in sixth, but I think you heard him lay out a vision for Philadelphia that is about equity and about inclusion and about creating space for our young people. And we look forward to his continuing and ongoing work. Well, it's just about time to wrap up the show here. And I want to thank all of our guests that called in on tonight, first beginning with Asa Khalif, who called in, a former city council at large candidate and one of the big leaders here in Pennsylvania, Black Lives Matter. We want to thank Yolanda Brinkley of Diversity at Cannes from calling in from Cannes, France, to share with us what has been going on at Diversity in Cannes and the Cannes Film Festival, and about what she's planning for year 11 of the Diversity in Cannes Film Festival. We want to thank Justin D. Bernardinis for giving us a call in. He finished number 6 in the city council at large race. And somebody would say, why don't you have the folk on at 1? Because they're going to tell me the same thing that they've been saying on the stump. I want to talk about people that have an investment in making sure Philadelphia continues to grow, prosper, and what it's going to look like. I also want to give a shout out to Brother Shamari, whose show I was on a little bit earlier today, and the conversation that began about what does it look like to begin to build black independent political power, and the work that we need to do to make sure that we are able to have a say in the destinies of our own community and pulling it together. I want to thank all of our callers that called in tonight. We deeply appreciate you. Amadi, we hope you're feeling better and that you'll be back with us next week. Thanks, Troy Wilmore, our executive producer, for bringing on the show tonight. Great job. And Envy McKee is coming up on the lounge in just a little bit. The amazing Envy McKee. You really should listen to the show. I love listening to her as I drive back home every week after I leave the studio. It's been great to be on the air with you, and look forward to being back with you on next Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. here on Solutions. Go out, change the damn world. We'll get back with you soon. Take care.
To do bull for some bull ass reasons.